All right, all right. Looks like I'm live. Yeah, yeah. What's going on, guys? G Funk, and I'm here, ready to talk about the fight of the year. And my opinions. Let me check this audio real quick. All right, it looks like I am live. Audio's good. See if anybody's gonna join me live. If not, you guys can check it out in the archive after I'm through here. But yeah, man, crazy. This year is almost over, man. Flew by for me, but we had a lot of good fights this year. Um, and I'm looking through some of these fights that I wrote down here. Man, hard to choose. Hard to choose, but I've narrowed it down to 6 fights that I think are worthy of fight of the year. Nah, I'd say 2 of them maybe. One of them wasn't a full 12-round fight, and another one, it was a interesting fight, you know. But I hear a lot of people mentioning it for their fight of the year. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start going down the list here. So the first one I want to talk about is a fight that I just mentioned that didn't go a full 12 rounds, but man, it was a hell of a fight for the 6 rounds that it lasted. Well, I think it was 6. Let me go back and look real quick. Sorry, guys. When you get old like me, man, sometimes you just got to go back and look and see, make sure. You know what I'm saying? I think it was a 6 round. And this is the fight with for unification at 140. Jose Ramirez versus Maurice Hooker. I want to mention that fight because man, that was a hell of a fight. Now I know it didn't go the full distance, and a lot of the times guys like to rank the fight of the year. You know, it has to be a full 12-round fight. Um, for me, I don't necessarily have to have it uh be a 12-rounder for me to say it's the fight of the year. But you know, I thought I'd mention it, man, because it was a good fight. And again, a lot on the line, unification on the line at 140, and Ramirez gets a spectacular knockout of Maurice Hooker in Hooker's hometown. That's a big win for him, man. Uh, both guys came in, and they didn't want to lay down. You can see that both guys, refused to give it up. Hooker landed some hellacious shots on Ramirez in that fight, and Ramirez as well. I mean, man, this was some toe to toe great action by both guys. So I wanted to throw that one out there as fight of the year for me. But it's not the fight of the year, but I think it's one of the best fights of the year, no doubt about it, in my opinion. You guys can let me know what you think in the chat there. If you agree that that fight should be in the list or considered at least. So moving on now to the next fight that I thought should be mentioned, and a lot of people don't mention this fight. I've seen a lot of people make lists or make videos about fight of the year, and I don't hear this one get mentioned. But I'm going to mention it because I thought it was a hell of a fight too. It wasn't necessarily a war. Now a lot of guys like to use that term. Well, this fight was a war, so it's got to be fight of the year. And I do agree most of the time, but there are times where I like to see a good chess match. That's for me that's a good fight also. That's a real good fight to see. Now, was this fight necessarily a chess match? At times, yeah. Uh, you know, So that's why I'm gonna mention it. And this fight was Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman. Thought that was a real good fight. Thought that was a tale of two halves, man. Um, Pacquiao dominated the first half of the fight. Came out real quick on Thurman, knocked him down in the first round. Looked like Thurman was going to be outclassed. Looked like he was going to be outgunned by Pacquiao. But then, he made an adjustment and started doing the things that I thought he should have been doing from the beginning of the fight. I actually predicted him to win this fight, and I had Pacquiao winning. But it turned out that I got the prediction wrong, and that's cool. I don't mind getting fights wrong when I predict them. Give me 1 second. I'm getting a text message. But Thurman made an adjustment to Pacquiao, and he made it a fight, man. And the fight was close down the stretch. Thurman, again, and then Pacquiao, he made an adjustment himself late in the fight by going to the body. Ended up hurting Keith Thurman really bad to the body. I want to say it was like round 9. But I mean, to be honest, there was a few times where I seen Pacquiao get a little hurt from some of the shots that Thurman was hitting him with. So, you had a fight, tale of both halves. Both guys made some good adjustments. Fight goes a distance, and Pacquiao gets the nod. But I thought that was a really good fight. I enjoyed watching it. And again, it wasn't the war that most people like to base their fight of the year candidates on. But for me, I thought it was a really good fight, man. I don't care if it's a war or not, man. As long as it's good and I enjoyed it, I'm going to mention it, Moving on to the next one now. This fight to me was kind of a 50-50 to put on the list. It was a good fight, but I hear a lot of people mentioning it as could be a fight of the year. I don't know. For me, I thought the guy that won the fight won it pretty convincingly. So, that's why I don't really. That's why I'm kind of like, But I'm gonna mention it anyway. And this was Inoue versus Donaire. The Super Boxing Series. I believe that's what it's called. In the bantamweight division, this was the final. And I kept telling you guys for months, man, go back and check my videos. Check the videos that I've done with D-Style this half of the year. I had mentioned that Donaire was going to do some things in there that could that could cause Inoue some trouble. He did hurt Inoue a couple of times in that fight with some nice right hands, and Inoue came back himself and hurt Donaire to the body. And but for me, the thing is this: Donaire. I only gave him like 3 rounds, maybe 4, something like that. I know there was 3 for sure rounds that he won in this fight, but Inoue he's just a younger, fresher guy, and Donaire, he's a veteran, tough guy. We know he's got a great chin. He showed that. I mean, he got hit in the body, went down, but he got up and finished the fight. But he's a hell of a counterpuncher. We know he's got pop in his left hook, and Inoue did get hit with that left hook a couple times, and he was able to take it and come back and finish the job against Donaire. So I'm gonna mention that one, but honestly, I don't think it was that good of a fight to be a candidate for fight of the year, but I did notice a lot of people mentioning it, so I figured I would mention it as well. We got 92 AKU in the house. What's going on, man? He says Nonito showed hella heart. Yeah, well, he's always had heart. He's always had a good chin. Didn't surprise me at all, man. You watched a lot of our videos that I did with D-Style. I kept telling people, man, don't be surprised, if Donaire does some things in there, And for me, it wasn't a surprise, man, at all. Okay, so let's move on now. Now I'm going to talk. This is the top three. Now, these three right here, for me, these are the three best fights of the year, no doubt about it. To me, um, it was hard picking one out of these three because all three of these fights were really, really good, man. And I think most of you guys would agree with me on this. At least I think. There'll always be some people that don't agree with you, but that's cool. It is what it is. The first one I will talk about, number three, was a hell of a fight, and in a lot of people's opinions, an upset. You know, for me, not so much of an upset. I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't have picked the winner if I did a prediction video, and I would not have picked the guy who won the fight to win. But it wouldn't surprise me. I would have said this in the video for sure. It wouldn't surprise me if I'm wrong, and I would have been wrong. And this is Julian Williams versus Jarrett Hurd. Man, that was a good fight. It had everything that you would want in a fight of the year candidate. I mean, a lot of action, a lot of punches, back and forth, toe to toe, belts on the line. It had everything that you would want in a candidate for fight of the year, man. And I don't see a lot of people talking about this fight for some reason. I don't know why. This is one that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about, but man, this was a hell of a fight, man. And again, Julian Williams coming off of his loss to his knockout loss to one of the Charlo brothers. He got stopped in that fight. And then you got Jarrett Hurd coming off of the biggest win of his career, beating Erislandy Lara, who, in my opinion, is the first guy to really beat Lara. There's no doubt about it for me that he beat him. Again, Hurd rolling. He's a guy who he's a big junior middleweight, likes to come in there and bang away. Julian Williams, man, did his thing that night. He comes away with the victory. And it was just a all around very good scrap, man. I enjoyed watching that one. Let me see here. There was, 3 belts on the line. Well, I mean, if you want to count the IBO, but the IBF and the WBA and the IBO, all those belts were on the line during this fight. And Williams comes away with the win, gets the W, and what I think is a strong candidate for fight of the year on most people's list. Could be number one, man. These are all interchangeable, this top 3 for me, man. So with that said, gonna move on here. You guys let me know who you think if I know there's a couple of people here. Let me know who you guys think was the fight of the year this year. Then we can talk about it after I get done with my list. I got a couple more fights to talk about, and that's it. So, the next fight is, again, interchangeable at any of these ones. They're all good fights. They all could be number one. This fight has been mentioned already on a lot of people's channels for fight of the year. I thought it was a great fight. Again, a lot on the line. I like to include that in my list most of the time. Sometimes if a fight is really, really good and it's just, one of those fights that it comes on, out of nowhere, you don't really, it's not a lot of hype, but then the fight turns out to be really good. Those can be thrown in there also. There's nothing wrong with those fights. But sometimes I'd rather see guys really go at it when there's a lot on the line. Most of the time when we get these big fights with belts on the line or with things like that, it's always, a one-sided fight. But these top 3, again, a lot of stuff on the line, a lot of things at stake here on these fights. And this is one of them. And probably the hottest division in boxing right now. And that's the fight with Earl Spence and Sean Porter. I know I'm shocked. Some of you might be shocked listening to this live, or if you listen to it back in the archive, you might be shocked that I didn't pick this for fight of the year. And man, I really wanted to. And like I said, the top 3 for me are interchangeable, man. They could be all number 1. And this fight again had everything that you would want in a fight. It had the action. It had the toe to toe. There was a knockdown. Both guys landing shots. Both guys throwing a lot of leather. Both guys eating a lot of leather. It was a pay-per-view, and that always is good for boxing. Anytime we get a good fight like this on pay-per-view is always great, because a lot of the times people complain that they pay for these fights and these fights just aren't good, and I agree most of the time. But this fight, man, again, had everything you'd want. We got, unification on the line between these two guys, both champions, and both showed a ton of heart, a ton of grit. Just a hell of a fight, man. One hell of a fight. Errol Spence versus Shawn Porter is number 2 on G-Funk's list. So now you're probably wondering, well, damn, if that's number 2, then what the hell's number 1, Well, I'm going to tell you right now what I think is number 1. And this fight, again, I have to mention it. I know I sound like a broken record, but a lot on the line here. Both guys, let me check before I say what I'm going to say here, but I believe that both guys had belts for this fight, but I want to double check real quick. I believe so. I believe that we had the WBA and the IBF belts on the line here for this bout. Not only that, the end of a super boxing series, or the Ali Trophy, whatever you want to call it, was on the line here. And this was a step up for both guys. Both guys, this was their best step up in competition at the time. And for me, this one was definitely the fight of the year, in my opinion. And this is the fight between Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis, man. That's my fight of the year. That's G-Funk's fight of the year, man. And again, like I said, I don't always base my list off of fights that are wars, all out wars, brawls. I mean, whatever you want to call them. And believe me, I love watching those fights just as much as you guys do. And for me, this fight here really had it all, man. You had, again, these guys came out and boxed beautifully for the first couple rounds. They made adjustments. They counterpunched great. They went to war towards the end of the fight. Both guys ended up pretty marked up. And again, you seen it all in this fight, man. There was boxing, there was defense, there was counterpunching, there was punches and bunches, there was guys getting banged up, guys getting cut, guys getting swollen eyes. And again, a lot on the line, man, with the series, the tournament on the line. Both guys had belts, unification. And, for me, this takes it, man, for me. Shoot, I'm getting comments here and they're not coming up on my StreamYard. So sorry if I'm not acknowledging you guys, but some reason the StreamYard is not showing the comments. But yeah, man, for me, this is the one. So I gotta check YouTube now. I'm sorry, guys. Let me check YouTube. Okay, 92 AKU says there were so many fights of the year. Yes, man. Yes. I'm sure I missed a couple, It says your list was fire. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Who did you think was fight of the year? Since you're here. Oh, now they show up. Now they show up on the StreamYard. You gotta love technology sometimes, man. You just gotta love it. It can work for you, it can work against you, But yeah, man. Prograis, Taylor, or Taylor Prograis, whatever. Great fight. Again, a lot on the line. I'm hoping that after Ramirez fights whoever he's fighting in China, I don't even know why they're fighting in China, but the fight's in China, guys. Right? And you know, hopefully he gets the W there. I don't know who Taylor's gonna fight next. I don't think he has a fight lined up yet, but I'm sure he will. And hopefully him and Ramirez can get in there and we could get undisputed, man, at 140. I would love to see that. Um, I hope that they fight in California, man, because we know Ramirez, he can pack a house in California. But we'll see. I mean, those UK guys, they like to stay in their backyard and so we'll see what happens. But man, if that fight happens in California, I'm gonna be there. I'm telling you right now. I'm gonna buy tickets and I'm gonna be there for this one, man. We got somebody else here. Bruce01 says, G Funky, what's up, brother? What's going on, man? Thanks for joining me. Just here talking about fight of the year, who G Funk thinks was fight of the year. And if you could read the title, I'm sure you could read it. But Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis for me was the fight of the year. If you want to go back and check out the list, I had 6 fights that I narrowed it down to. I went through them, talked about them briefly before I got to the number one. And for me, this was the best fight of the year, man. You guys should let me know who you got as a fight of the year if I missed anything. Let's see. 92AQ says GGG versus Derevyanchenko, Andy Ruiz versus AJ, and Spence Porter. Yeah, I mean, I thought about putting the Ruiz Joshua fight on there, but for me, it was a little one sided. For it to be a fight of the year candidate. Same thing with the Triple G Derevyanchenko fight. I mean, there was some good action. Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of good action in that fight, but just not enough for me to put it on the list after going through. Bruce01 says, I got to go with Inoue versus Donaire. I talked about that fight. For me, it's kind of I'm on the fence about it for fight of the year just because I felt like, just like with the other fights that 92AKU listed, I felt like, those fights weren't that close, Like, I feel like Inoue won that fight, no doubt about it. I feel like any fight of the year candidate has to be a pretty close contested fight, for it to make my list. But I did enjoy that fight, and I did mention it earlier in the video. Pac versus One Time. Yeah, I had that on the list as well. I thought that was really good. I enjoyed it. A lot of people won't. Again, a lot of people don't want to mention that fight for some reason, but I felt like there was plenty of action. Guys getting hurt, guys getting dropped, guys making adjustments. I thought that was a pretty good fight, and I actually had it. I think 7-4, or 7-5 Pacquiao. I mean, I have to go back and look at my notes, but yeah, man, it was a tale of two halves, that fight for me. And I mentioned it there. But yeah, guys, for me, these 6 fights were the ones that did it for me. Hopefully, I'm gonna go ahead and make another list here for fighter of the year for 2019. I've already done KO of the year. Go back and check that video if you haven't already. Now I just did fight of the year, so now I'm gonna do fighter of the year. Maybe I'll do round of the year. I don't know, man, because I'm still working on my decade list also, and that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I might just do fighter of the decade and knockout of the decade. Maybe fight of the decade. Man, that's tough though. We're talking 10 years of fights, guys. And I've already got a lot of fights in my head for that list. But man, it's hard to narrow it down to just one, Bruce Willis says he's going to go with Inoue and Donaire. Martinez Rosales is great. Yes. Yeah, man. For me, this is it, man. And I want to thank you guys for joining me. I know it's kind of an odd time for me to go live, but it is what it is. Figured I'd get one in before it gets too late. Might go live again later tonight to do the fighter of the year, Canelo easily. No, I wouldn't say easily, but you'll find out. 92 AKU. You'll find out who I think. I mean, to me, it sounds like it's a lock for you with Canelo. I know a lot of people probably will pick Canelo. And it's understandable why they would pick him. No doubt about that. But I mean, I hate the fact that these guys only fight a couple times a year. That just for me that just doesn't do it, man. I need these guys to fight more, man. I need more boxing. You know what I'm saying? But again, guys, thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate the support. You guys coming through, watching, hitting the like button for me. Uh, again, you'll find out, man. You'll find out. But I'm gonna wrap this thing up, man. I'm gonna go blow my nose. Got a little congestion happening here. But you guys take it easy. Hopefully, you join me a little bit later for my fighter of the year for 2019. So again, guys, one more time. Josh Taylor versus Regis Prograis takes it for me. Fight of the year. Who's this guy? So we got another knucklehead in here. Let me block this clone. You're out of there. But yeah, man, join me later, guys. I'm out. Have a good one.